Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super English Talks. My name is Jara, and I am so happy you're here with me today. In this special episode, we're going to spend more time together than usual. This will be a longer session, one where you can really relax and get into the natural flow of English. The goal is simple: to help you feel more comfortable with everyday conversations. Daily conversations are the heart of every language. They are the short chats we have in the morning, the questions we ask at work or school, the small talks with friends, and the longer discussions we share with family. These moments may look small, but they are actually very important because they build our relationships and fill our daily lives. Many learners feel nervous about these situations. Maybe you feel worried that you won't know the right words. Or maybe you get scared when native speakers talk quickly. If this happens to you, you are not alone. It happens to almost everyone who is learning a new language. My job today is to help you face that worry and to give you the tools to be more confident. We will not study a boring list of phrases from a textbook. Instead, we will do something more fun and natural. We will join a family and quietly listen to them as they move through their day. We will start in the morning when they wake up, and we will follow them until the night when they go to bed. We will hear how they talk at home, how they speak on the way to school and work, what they say during the day, and finally how they spend their evening together. I will guide you as we listen. Sometimes I will pause the story. I will explain a useful phrase or show you why someone spoke in a certain way. I will also give you chances to repeat the words out loud. This way, you are not only listening but also practicing. This episode is designed for learners around B1 and B2 level. That means it will not be too easy, but it will also not be too hard. I want you to feel like you are listening to a real podcast or even a short story, not just another English lesson. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin. Today we will step into the lives of Mark, his wife Sarah, and their 16-year-old son Leo. The morning sun is slowly coming through the blinds in their quiet suburban home. The house is silent. Everything feels calm and peaceful. In the bedroom, Mark begins to wake up. His eyes open slowly. For a moment, he stays still, enjoying the soft, warm feeling of the bed. Then he turns his head and looks at his wife, Sarah. She is still fast asleep. Mark smiles. He doesn't want to wake her too quickly, so he leans closer, touches her shoulder gently, and whispers, "Sarah, good morning." Sarah makes a soft sound, like a groan. She pulls the blanket tighter around her body and says, "Half asleep." More. Her voice is slow and heavy with sleep. Mark laughs quietly. He says kindly, "Come on, sleepyhead. It's Tuesday. You have that early meeting, remember?" This is a very natural and gentle way to wake someone. Notice that Mark speaks softly. He uses the nickname sleepyhead. This is a sweet and friendly word we use for someone who is very sleepy. Mark also gives Sarah a reason for waking her up. He says, "You have that early meeting, remember?" This makes him sound helpful, not annoying. Sarah opens her eyes a little. She stretches her arms, then stretches again with a big yawn. "Oh, right," she says. "I completely forgot. Thanks for waking me up. How did you sleep?" Mark sits up in bed and puts his feet on the floor. "I slept like a log," he answers. "I don't think I moved all night, but I had the strangest dream." Let's pause here. Sarah asks, "How did you sleep?" This is a very common question in morning. It's a simple way of showing you care about someone. Mark's answer is also very interesting. He says, "I slept like a log." A log is a big, heavy piece of wood. A log does not move. So, When someone says they slept like a log, it means they slept very deeply and very well. This is a great natural phrase that you can add to your own vocabulary. Mark smiles at Sarah and adds, "I had the strangest dream, though." This is a very natural way to begin a small story. Dreams are often funny or unusual, and talking about them is a nice way to start a conversation in the morning. Sarah lifts herself up on her elbows. Now she looks interested. "Oh, what was it about?" she asks. "Well," Mark begins slowly, "I dreamt I was a contestant on a baking show. But instead of flour, sugar, and eggs, I only had car parts. I was trying to bake a cake with spark plugs and hubcaps." Sarah laughs loudly. Her laugh sounds bright and clear in the quiet bedroom. A cake made out of car parts? That is ridiculous. You and your strange dreams. What do you think it means? "I have no idea," Mark replies. He stands up, stretches his arms, and yawns. "Maybe it just means I should stick to my normal job. Anyway, I'm going to take a shower. Are you getting up now?" Yes, I'm up," Sarah says with a little smile. She pushes the blanket away and sits up. "I'll go start the coffee." "What's the plan for breakfast?" Mark is already walking toward the bathroom. He calls back, "Just toast and coffee for me. I need to leave by 7:30 at the latest." Let's pause here for a moment. Did you notice Sarah's question? She asked, "What's the plan for breakfast?" This is a very natural way to ask about the morning meal. It's more friendly and collaborative than saying, "What are you making me for breakfast?" It shows that they will decide together. Mark's answer is simple and direct. He doesn't just say toast and coffee. He also explains why, because he needs to leave early. This is exactly how real conversations work. They mix information with feelings, plans, and little details. Now, let's practice. Imagine you are waking up and talking to someone. What would you say? You might say, "Good morning. I slept well. Thanks." Or, if you didn't sleep well, you could say, "I tossed and turned all night." This phrase means you moved around a lot in bed and couldn't sleep properly. Try saying it out loud. "I tossed and turned all night." This will make your English sound much more natural. Now, let's move to another room in the same house. Down the hallway, Leo, their 16-year-old son, is still fast asleep. His room looks very different from his parents' bedroom. The walls are covered with posters of bands and video games. On his nightstand, his phone suddenly begins to buzz loudly. The alarm rings with a sharp, annoying sound. From under the blankets, Leo's hand shoots out. He fumbles on the table, trying to find the snooze button. Finally, he hits it, and the room is quiet again. But only for a moment. A few minutes later, the door opens. Sarah walks in, now wearing her robe and holding 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Her voice is firm, but still gentle. "Leo, time to get up, honey. You can't be late again this week." From under the pillow comes a muffled voice.
"I'm tired."
Sarah walks across the room to the window. She pulls the curtains wide open. Bright sunlight fills the room, and Leo groans. "I know you're tired," Sarah says kindly, "but the world is waiting. And so is your geometry homework that you didn't finish last night." This is a classic conversation between a parent and a teenager. Notice how Sarah speaks. She uses honey, a sweet and caring word, but her tone makes it clear this is not a choice. She also reminds Leo of something from the past. You can't be late again this week. Parents often use the past to influence the present, and her comment about geometry mixes humor with a reminder of responsibility. Leo groans again and slowly sits up, squinting in the sunlight.
Ugh, fine.
Is there any coffee? Sarah smiles and holds out one of the mugs. Way ahead of you. Be careful, it's hot. Now, what do you want for breakfast? We've got cereal, eggs, or toast. Just cereal is fine, Leo says, taking a careful sip of his hot coffee. Thanks, Mom. You're welcome, Sarah replies warmly. Try to be downstairs in 15 minutes, okay? Your dad might be able to give you a ride if we're all on time. Let's pause here. Sarah asked, what do you want for breakfast? This is a little different from, what's the plan for breakfast? When she says, what do you want? She is asking one person about their choice. She also gives options, cereal, eggs, or toast. Giving choices makes it easier for someone to decide. Leo answers politely, just cereal is fine. Thanks, Mom. Notice how he uses fine. It doesn't mean amazing. It means good enough or acceptable. It's a common, natural way to answer. Finally, Sarah says, try to be downstairs in 15 minutes, okay? This is a polite command. The word okay at the end softens it, so it sounds more like a request than an order. A short while later, the family is gathered in the kitchen. The smell of coffee fills the air, mixed with the warm, toasty smell of bread. Mark is already dressed for work in a neat shirt and trousers. He sits at the breakfast bar, reading the news on his tablet. Leo sits at the table, shoulders slumped, slowly eating cereal. His spoon moves lazily while his other hand scrolls through his phone. Sarah is busy moving around the kitchen, making sandwiches and packing lunches. She asks without looking up, anything interesting in the news? Mark doesn't lift his eyes from the screen. Just the usual, he says. Politics, traffic, and a story about a cat that can predict the weather. Apparently, it hides under the sofa whenever it's going to rain. Sarah smiles. Well, that's probably more accurate than most weather forecasters, she jokes. Then she turns to Leo. Phone away at the table, please. And have you packed your bag for school? Let's pause again. Sarah's question to Mark, anything interesting in the news, is a great conversation starter. It's open-ended, which means it invites a longer answer than just yes or no. Mark's reply is short but a little sarcastic. Politics, traffic, and a story about a cat. Sarcasm is very common in English, especially between people who know each other well. It's when you say something in a way that's partly opposite to what you really mean, often to be funny. Sarah's next words to Leo are important. Phone away at the table, please. The word please softens the command. Without please, it might sound too strict. She follows with a practical question. Have you packed your bag for school? Notice the grammar here. Have you packed? This is the present perfect tense. It's used for a past action that is important now. In this case, the action of packing the bag is important for being ready today. Leo sighs loudly, putting his phone down. Yes, I've packed my bag, but I can't find my history textbook anywhere. I think I left it in my locker at school. Sarah frowns, clearly a little frustrated.
Lär.
That's the third time this month. You need to be more organized. What are you going to do in your history class, huh? Leo shrugs casually. I'll just have to share with Ben. It's no big deal. Here we see a small conflict in the family. Sarah is clearly frustrated. She shows this by saying, "Oh, Leo," in a disappointed tone, and then she adds, "That's the third time this month." By giving a specific fact, she makes her point stronger. Leo replies quickly, "It's no big deal." This is a very common phrase in English. It means it's not a serious problem. People often use it when they want to make something sound less important. But for a parent like Sarah, it is a big deal. Mark looks up from his tablet. He sees the tension and decides to step in. Okay, he says calmly. Let's not get stressed. Leo, after school today, your main priority is to go to your locker, find that book, and bring it home. Understood. Yeah, understood, Leo mumbles. Then Mark turns to his wife with a softer voice. And Sarah? Don't worry. He's a teenager. Forgetting things is part of the job description. He gives her a quick wink. This is a great example of de-escalating a situation. Mark does two things. He gives Leo a very clear instruction. Notice the phrase, your main priority is, that strong, direct language. It tells Leo exactly what is important. He comforts Sarah with humor. Saying that forgetting things is part of the job description is a funny way of saying it's normal for teenagers. The wink makes the moment lighter. Humor is a powerful tool in family conversations. It can reduce stress and bring people back together. Now the last-minute morning rush begins. Sarah hands a packed lunch to Mark and another to Leo. Here you go. Don't forget these. Thanks, love, Mark says. He leans over and kisses her cheek.
Right.
I'm off. I have to beat the traffic. He grabs his briefcase and his car keys. Leo, are you coming with me? I can drop you near the school. Yeah, 1 second, Leo calls, running toward his room. I forgot my charger. Hurry up. Mark shouts from the front door. We're going to be late. This part of the morning is very common in many families. Everything feels fast and a little chaotic. Notice how the language changes. Mark says, I'm off. This is a casual, everyday way of saying, I'm leaving now. He asks, are you coming with me? This is a short, direct offer. Finally, hurry up is a classic command used when time is short. The tone is louder and more urgent compared to the calm bedroom conversation earlier. Our way of speaking always changes depending on the situation. A few moments later, Leo comes running back with the charger in his hand. Okay, I'm ready.
Good.
Say bye to your mom, Mark instructs. Bye, Mom. See you later. Leo shouts, rushing out the door after his dad. Bye, you too. Have a good day, Sarah calls back. She stands at the doorway for a moment, watching them get into the car. The house suddenly feels quiet again. She takes a deep breath, sips her coffee, and glances at the clock. It's time for her to get ready too. Now, let's shift our attention to the commute, the journey to school and work. Mark and Leo are sitting in the car. The traffic is slow, almost stopped. The radio is on, playing a popular song in the background. Leo stares out the window, looking bored. Mark decides to break the silence. So, he asks, keeping his eyes on the road, are you prepared for your math test today? I guess, Leo replies with a shrug. I studied for it, but trigonometry is just, I don't know. It's confusing. When am I ever going to need to know the angle of a triangle in real life? This is a classic student question. Teenagers often wonder why they have to study topics that feel far away from daily life. 1. Leo's expression, I guess, shows uncertainty. I don't know shows hesitation, searching for words. When am I ever going to need this? Rhetorical question, expressing frustration rather than expecting an answer. 2. Mark's response. Real-world examples: architect, engineer, video game designer. This validates Leo's concern. Empathy, I get it, plus sharing his history struggles. This makes him relatable instead of lecturing. Connection, I felt the same way, builds trust and comfort. 3. Change in mood. Leo shifts from frustrated, curious, relaxed. Example, after hearing his dad's perspective, he laughs about finally finding the history book. Humor helps release tension. 4 language points. Making plans, the plan is. Confirming. You can walk from there, right? Time language finishes at 5. Home by 6. Around 7. Approximation. Around shows flexibility. 5. Practice idea. To mirror Mark and Leo's planning talk, learners can practice suggesting a plan with a friend. Are you free for coffee sometime this week? How about we grab a coffee on Thursday afternoon? The phrase grab a coffee is casual, friendly, and very common. 1. Small talk at the bus stop. Lovely morning, isn't it? Polite, friendly opener. Isn't it? Tag question, used to invite agreement. Other common examples. Lovely day, isn't it? The bus is late, isn't it? Teaching tip. In English-speaking countries, weather equals safest small talk topic. 2. Asking for a seat. Polite starter. Excuse me. Always good when talking to strangers. 2 polite questions. Is this seat taken? Is this seat free? Common friendly replies. Go ahead. Sure, no problem. 3. Text messaging style. Short, simple, often no full sentences. Example, same place, 1 p.m. instead of let's meet at the same place at 1 p.m. Sarah's reply, me too.
Perfect.
See you there. Me too enthusiasm. Perfect confirms plan. See you there standard closing. 4. Meeting a friend who's late. Chloe's strong apology. I'm so sorry. The traffic was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare equals strong exaggeration, very bad. Sarah reassuring. Don't worry about it at all. Followed by a warm question. How have you been? 1. Ordering food at a cafe. Waiter's polite options. Are you ready to order? Or would you like a few more minutes? Polite ways to order. I'll have the chicken salad, please. Sarah, common, direct. I'd like the mushroom risotto, please. Chloe, formal, polite. Could I get a Diet Coke? Chloe, polite but slightly more casual. Useful filler. Shows hesitation or thinking. Waiter confirms order prevents mistakes. Polite response in unison. Thank you. 2. Moving into deeper conversation. Sarah's warm question. Is everything all right at work? Supportive. Chloe's honest expressions. Huge project with a tight deadline. Little time to finish work. I just don't feel as passionate about it anymore. Loss of interest. Social skill. Changing the subject politely. But that's a boring topic. Tell me something fun. 3. Sharing positive news. Sarah. Mark and I are planning a weekend getaway. Chloe. That sounds wonderful. Enthusiastic support. Follow-up question. Where are you thinking of going? Shows interest. Key takeaways for learners. At a cafe, I'd like, could I get? To comfort a friend, is everything all right? / I thought you loved your job. To change the subject, but enough about that / tell me something fun. To respond with warmth, that sounds wonderful. / where are you thinking of going? Let's do a little practice. Imagine this situation. You are in a cafe. You ordered a Diet Coke, but the waiter brings you a regular Coke instead. What should you do? Of course, you don't want to sound rude. You want to be polite, but also clear. First, you need to get the waiter's attention. A good way to do this is simply to say, "Excuse me." Then, instead of saying, "You brought the wrong drink," which sounds too strong, you can use softer language. For example, I'm sorry, but I think I ordered a Diet Coke. The little phrase "I think" is very useful. It makes your words sound less direct and less accusatory. It shows you are not angry, but you just want to correct the mistake. This is an excellent technique in English for making a polite complaint. Try saying it out loud now. Excuse me. I'm sorry, but I think I ordered a Diet Coke.
Perfect.
This way, you are polite, clear, and respectful. Now, let's move to Mark at his office. It's lunchtime, and while Sarah is eating with her friend, Mark is at work in a meeting. He is sitting with 3 colleagues, David, Maria, and his boss, Susan. They are in a bright, modern conference room with glass walls. Everyone has notebooks and laptops open, and there is a large screen at the front showing a presentation. Susan, the boss, is speaking.
She says,
So, to summarize, the sales figures for this quarter are up by 7%, which is fantastic. Great work, everyone. Now, let's move on to the next agenda item, the marketing plan for the new product launch. Notice her language. She uses formal business English. To summarize equals to give a short version of the important points. Let's move on to the next agenda item. Equals, let's go to the next topic in the meeting. She also gives positive feedback. Fantastic. Great work. This is important in professional environments because it motivates the team. Then Susan looks at Maria and says, Maria, you've been leading this. Would you like to walk us through your team's initial ideas? The phrase walk us through means explain step by step in detail. It's a very polite and professional way to invite someone to speak. Maria presents her ideas. Maria smiles, nods, and sits up straighter. She begins. Thank you, Susan. Okay, so our core proposal is a multi-channel digital campaign. We're suggesting a strong focus on social media, especially Instagram and TikTok, to reach a younger demographic. We've also drafted some concepts for video ads. This is typical meeting language. Maria uses business terms like core proposal, main idea, and multi-channel digital campaign, using different online platforms together. David interrupts politely. David, another colleague, raises his hand slightly. He doesn't just start speaking. Instead, he says, If I could just jump in for a second, I have a question about the budget for this. This is an excellent way to interrupt politely. If I could just jump in for a second, equals may I speak for a moment? Other polite options include, Could I add something here? Excuse me for interrupting, but... These phrases show respect to the person who is speaking. Susan nods and says, Go ahead, David. David raises a concern. David says, The social media campaign sounds great in principle, but creating high-quality video content can be very expensive. Have we allocated enough in the budget to do this properly? I'm concerned we might spread ourselves too thin. Let's break this down. He starts with a positive statement. The campaign sounds great in principle. Then he gives his concern. It can be very expensive. He uses a polite phrase, I'm concerned, instead of just saying this is a problem. He also uses a useful idiom, spread ourselves too thin. This means to try to do too many things at once, so you don't do any of them well. This method is sometimes called the sandwich technique. Positive comment concern may be another positive comment. It's very common in business. Maria replies professionally. Maria listens carefully and then says, That's a valid point, David.
We've thought about that.
In the initial phase, we plan to use a combination of in-house resources and 1 or 2 key influencers who align with our brand. That should keep costs manageable. The detailed budget breakdown is on page 5 of the proposal. This is a very professional response. She acknowledges David. That's a valid point. Showing respect. She explains the plan clearly. She reassures the team that they have already considered this problem. So in this office scene, we see three important skills in action. The boss using formal language to guide the meeting. A colleague interrupting politely and raising a concern. Another colleague responding respectfully and giving clear information. This is how professional conversations often happen in English-speaking workplaces. Maria's response in the meeting is excellent. She does not ignore David's concern or argue with him. Instead, she acknowledges it politely by saying, "That's a valid point, David." This short phrase is very powerful in professional conversations. It shows that she has listened carefully, she respects his opinion, and she values what he said. After that, she explains her team's plan clearly. She says they will use a mix of their own in-house resources and also work with a few important influencers who match their brand. This way, they can keep the costs under control. Finally, she points David to the proposal, telling him that the detailed budget is on page 5. This is an excellent way to answer a concern, acknowledge it, explain the solution, and guide the person to more information. This example shows us how good professional communication works. It is not about arguing or proving someone wrong. It is about collaborating and solving problems together. In successful workplaces, conversations are about respect, teamwork, and finding solutions. The meeting continues for about another hour. During this time, the team members brainstorm new ideas, share opinions, and discuss different possibilities. They also delegate tasks, meaning they decide who will do which job. And they set deadlines so that everyone knows when their tasks must be finished. Mark also contributes by sharing his ideas about the sales strategy. By the end of the meeting, they have created a clear and organized action plan. Susan, the boss, ends the meeting in a very professional way. She claps her hands lightly to get everyone's attention and says, "Okay, this has been a very productive session. Thank you all for your input. Let's recap the action points. David, you're going to refine the budget. Maria, you'll flesh out the video concepts. Mark, you'll align the sales team. Let's aim to circle back on this next Friday." Does that work for everyone? This ending is an excellent model for how to finish a meeting. Susan summarizes the key decisions that were made. She lists the action points clearly, who is responsible for what task. She also sets a clear deadline, which is next Friday. She uses the phrase circle back, which means to return to a topic later. And she checks with the group by asking, "Does that work for everyone?" This is a polite way to make sure everyone agrees and is comfortable with the plan. Everyone nods, and the meeting is officially over. Now let's leave the corporate office behind and see what Leo is doing. The school day has just finished, and he is walking home with his best friend, Ben. Both of them are carrying heavy backpacks, and they look tired but relieved that classes are over. Leo kicks a small stone along the sidewalk and says, "So, the math test wasn't as bad as I thought. I think I actually did okay." Ben smiles and replies, "See, I told you it would be fine. But the history homework, on the other hand, that was rough. So much reading." Leo groans and says, "Tell me about it. And I have to do it all tonight because I left my textbook in my locker like an idiot." This short conversation shows us what informal teenage talk sounds like. It is relaxed, casual, and friendly. Notice how Leo says, like an idiot, to criticize himself. This is called self-deprecating humor, and it's very common among friends. Ben uses the phrase, "tell me about it." This phrase can be confusing for English learners because it does not mean "give me more information." Instead, it is an idiom that means "I completely agree with you," or I know exactly what you mean. It's a way of showing empathy and shared experience. Ben then asks, "Are you still on for gaming tonight?" The new update for Galaxy Raiders just dropped. The phrase, "Are you still on for?" means are we still doing the plan we made? It's casual and often used between friends. Leo replies, "Oh, sweet. Yeah, definitely. I'll just have to get my homework done first, or my mom will ground me for a week." Ben laughs and says,
Cool.
"Just message me when you're free." Then he suddenly points to a small ice cream shop on the corner and asks, "Hey, do you want to grab an ice cream? My treat." Leo shakes his head. "I can't. I'm broke. I spent all my money on that concert ticket last week." Ben insists, "I said my treat. That means I'm paying." Leo grins widely. "Oh, in that case, absolutely. You're a legend, man." This exchange is a perfect example of informal teenage friendship language. They tease themselves, use idioms, and speak in a very relaxed tone. They also use short phrases like cool, sweet, legend, which are common in casual speech. Sweet is a slang word. Teenagers and young people often use it to mean excellent or great. For example, Leo says, "Oh, sweet." "Yeah, definitely," when Ben asks him about gaming. The phrase to ground someone is another important expression. This is a type of punishment that parents give to their children. If you are grounded, it usually means you are not allowed to go out with your friends or do fun activities for a certain amount of time. Leo says, "I'll just have to get my homework done first, or my mom will ground me for a week." That means if he doesn't finish his homework, his mom will punish him by not letting him go out or play. Ben makes a kind offer by saying, "My treat." This is a very common and generous phrase in English. When someone says it's my treat or my treat, they mean I will pay for you. Leo first refuses because he doesn't have money, but when Ben insists, Leo replies, "You're a legend, man." This is teenage slang. It's very high praise. It doesn't mean Ben is an actual legend like in a history book. It means you're an amazing person. You're the best. The two boys go into the ice cream shop together. The man behind the counter looks up, smiles, and says, "What can I get for you boys?" Ben orders politely, "Can I get 1 scoop of chocolate chip cookie dough in a cone, please?" Leo adds his order, "And I'll have a scoop of mint chocolate chip, please." Notice how both boys use please at the end. This is a small but important word that makes their request polite. Ben pays for both ice creams, since it is his treat, and they leave the shop happily, each eating their ice cream. This moment may seem small, but it is actually very meaningful. Two friends walking home after school, laughing and sharing ice cream. It's a universal experience. Even though they use slang and casual language, the real message is about friendship and connection. The afternoon slowly turns into evening. Let's check in with Mark again. He has finished work for the day, but he needs to stop at the supermarket on his way home. The store is busy, filled with people doing their after-work shopping. Mark picks up a basket and pulls out his phone. Sarah has sent him a shopping list: milk, bread, eggs, chicken breasts, pasta, and some of that dark chocolate you like. He moves through the aisles. He quickly finds the milk, bread, and eggs. But when he gets to the pasta section, he can't find the type Sarah wanted. He looks around and sees a store employee nearby, stacking items on the shelves. Mark approaches politely and says, "Excuse me, could you tell me where I can find the fusilli pasta?" The young woman turns around and answers kindly, "Sure, it's in aisle 7, about halfway down on the left-hand side, right next to the penne." Mark repeats to make sure he understood. "Aisle 7 on the left."
Got it.
Thanks a lot. She smiles and replies, no problem. This short exchange is a perfect example of asking for help politely in a store. Mark begins with "excuse me" to get attention. His question is specific. He asks about fusilli pasta, not just pasta. The employee gives clear directions. Aisle 7, halfway down, left side, next to the penne. She even uses another type of pasta, penne, as a landmark to make her answer more helpful. Mark responds with, got it. Thanks a lot, which shows both understanding and gratitude. Mark finds a pasta, then picks up the chicken breasts. Finally, he goes to the confectionery aisle to find chocolate. He stands for a moment, looking at the many different options. He spots the dark chocolate Sarah wanted, but he also decides to add a bar of milk chocolate with caramel as a small surprise treat for her. He goes to the checkout line. It's not too long, and soon it's his turn. He places his basket on the conveyor belt. The cashier, a friendly man, starts scanning the items and says, "Find everything you were looking for today?" This is a very standard customer service question in English. It's part of the script that cashiers often use. You don't need to give a long answer. Mark replies simply, "Yes, I did. Thank you." That is enough. If Mark had trouble finding something, this would also be the moment to mention it. For example, he could say, "Yes, but I had a little trouble finding the pasta." But in this case, everything worked out fine. Mark finishes scanning his groceries. The total comes to £24 and 53 pence. The cashier looks at him and asks politely, "Will that be card or cash?" This is a very common question at checkouts. It is short and clear. You just need to choose your payment method. "Card, please," Mark replies. He takes his wallet and taps his contactless card on the machine. The machine beeps. The cashier asks another standard question. "Would you like a bag?" Many stores ask this, especially when plastic bags cost extra. Mark says, "No thanks. I've got my own," and takes out a folded cloth bag from his briefcase. He packs the groceries himself. The cashier hands him the receipt and says politely, "Have a good evening." Mark smiles and replies, "Thanks. You too." This interaction is very typical in English-speaking countries. There are standard questions and answers that happen every day. Card or cash?
How are you going to pay?
Would you like a bag? Do you want a shopping bag? Have a good evening / you too polite way to end a short conversation. Even though it seems small, learning these phrases will help you feel comfortable when shopping in English. Mark leaves the store and drives home. His phone rings. Luckily, it is connected to his car's Bluetooth system, so he can answer safely without holding the phone. He sees that it's his mother calling. He presses the button on the steering wheel. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" His mother's warm voice comes through. "Mark, darling, I'm fine.
I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time."
This is a polite way to start a phone call. She is checking if Mark is free. Mark reassures her, "Not at all. I'm just driving home from work. I'm hands-free, so it's perfectly safe." This shows consideration. He explains the situation clearly and politely. "Oh, good. I was just calling to see if you, Sarah, and Leo would be free to come over for Sunday lunch this weekend. I'm planning on making my roast lamb." Mark responds warmly, "Oh, that sounds lovely. I'm pretty sure we're free, but let me just double-check with Sarah when I get home. She mentioned wanting to go to the coast, but I don't think we've made any firm plans. Can I call you back in an hour or so?" Here, Mark shows enthusiasm and honesty. He doesn't say yes immediately, which is smart because it avoids the need to cancel later. He proposes a clear next step which is polite and responsible. His mother replies, "Of course, dear. That's no problem at all. Just let me know. How is everyone? How's my favorite grandson?" Mark answers briefly and warmly. "Leo's fine. He's in his school is boring phase, but he's a good kid. Sarah's well, too. She's meeting a friend for lunch today." His mother responds kindly, "Oh, that's nice for her. Well, I won't keep you. Drive safely. Speak to you later." The phrase, "I won't keep you," is a polite way to say, "I know you are busy, so I will finish the call soon." It shows respect for the other person's time. Mark replies,
Okay, Mom.
"Thanks for calling.
Bye."
Bye-bye, darling. This phone call is a perfect example of a typical family conversation.
It has
A clear purpose, Sunday lunch invitation. General catching up, how is everyone? Warm and polite closing, I won't keep you / drive safely. By learning these phrases, you can have friendly, polite, and natural conversations with family over the phone. The day is finally coming to an end. The family is back at home. Mark and Sarah are in the kitchen preparing dinner together. Leo sits at the kitchen table, with his history textbook finally open in front of him. The atmosphere is calm and comfortable. "So, how was your lunch with Chloe?" Mark asks while chopping vegetables. "It was lovely," Sarah says, stirring a pot on the stove. "It was so nice to catch up. Her work is stressing her out a bit, though. She's thinking of finding a new job." "Is she? That's a big step," Mark replies. "Did your early meeting go okay this morning?" Sarah asks. "Yes, it was fine. Long but productive. We finalized the budget for the next quarter," Mark answers. "How was your day? Anything interesting happen?" Sarah adds. This is a classic "how was your day" conversation. It is very important for families and couples to reconnect at the end of the day. The key is active listening. They are not just waiting for their turn to speak. They show real interest in each other's lives. Sarah's question, "Anything interesting happen?" invites more than a one-word answer. It encourages a story. "My day was pretty standard," Mark says. "Meetings, emails. Oh, but my mom called. She invited us over for a roast lamb lunch on Sunday." "Oh, that's nice of her. Are we free?" Sarah asks. "That's what I told her. I needed to check with you. I said we had been talking about a trip to the coast." Sarah thinks for a moment. A roast lamb does sound tempting, and we haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. The coast can wait. Let's go. You can call her back after dinner and confirm. "Will do," Mark says. He turns to his son. "And how about you, Mr. Leo? How was the infamous math test?" "It was okay, I think. Better than I expected." "And Dad, your advice this morning actually helped." Mark looks pleased. "It did? How so?" "I don't know," Leo says shyly. "Just thinking about how math could be useful for stuff like making video games. It made it a bit less pointless." Sarah smiles warmly. "That's wonderful, honey." She puts the lid on the pot and ruffles Leo's hair. "I'm proud of you for getting that homework done." This conversation shows the family working well together. They share news, make decisions together, and celebrate small successes. Leo's admission about his dad's advice shows the earlier conversation had a real impact. Sarah's praise, "I'm proud of you," is simple but powerful. Positive reinforcement like this encourages children. Dinner is lively. They talk about movies they want to see, a funny video Leo saw online, and their plans for the weekend. The conversation is relaxed, with questions, stories, jokes, and opinions. This evening meal ritual strengthens the family bond through conversation. After dinner, they move to the living room. Sarah reads a book, Mark watches a documentary on TV, and Leo messages his friend Ben. Okay, I'm done with homework. I'm coming online now, Leo types. He puts his phone down. I'm just going to play a game with Ben for a bit. Is that okay? For an hour, Sarah says, not looking up from her book. Then it's time to wind down for bed. It's a school night. Okay, 1 hour. Thanks, Leo says, and heads to his room. This is a good example of setting boundaries and expectations. The parents allow some free time, but make it clear that bedtime comes afterward. Later that evening, the family is getting ready for bed. Sarah and Mark are in the bathroom, brushing their teeth. It was a good day, wasn't it? Sarah asks, her voice slightly muffled by her toothbrush. It was, Mark agrees. Felt normal. Busy, but a good kind of busy. They finish brushing and go to their bedroom. Mark gets into bed with a book. Sarah sits at her dressing table, applying some face cream. Did you remember to call your mom back? She asks. Yep, Mark replies, looking up from his book. I called her while you were showering. She was thrilled that we can make it on Sunday. Good, Sarah says. She walks over to the bed. Well, I'm exhausted. I think I'm going to turn in. To turn in is an informal way of saying to go to bed. Okay, Mark says. He puts his book down and turns off his bedside lamp. Me too. Sarah gets into bed and turns off her light, leaving the room dark. Good night, Mark, she says softly. Good night, Sarah. Sleep well, he replies. And with those simple, kind words, their day comes to an end. From the first good morning to the final good night, their day was made up of hundreds of small conversations. We have followed this family through an entire day. We saw them wake up, plan, work, socialize, and relax. We heard formal language at the office, informal slang between friends, polite functional language while shopping, warm, intimate language within the family. What can we learn from this? Daily conversations are not about using big or complicated words. They are about connection. They are about using the right tone, choosing the right phrase for the situation, listening to the person you are speaking with. We saw that a simple question like, "How was your day?" can open up a whole conversation. A phrase like, "I get it," can build understanding between a father and a son. And "don't worry about it" can make a friend feel forgiven. The key to learning English is understanding context, not just memorizing phrases. Pay attention to how people greet each other, order coffee, agree or disagree, and tell small stories about their day. Now, your practice is simple. Start small. When you buy something, try phrases like "I'll have please," "card please," or "thank you too." When talking to a friend, ask, "What have you been up to?" instead of just "How are you?" Tell short stories about your day using words like "so," "then," and "after that." Every conversation is a chance to practice. Every small talk is a step toward fluency. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone makes them. The characters in our story didn't speak perfect English. They spoke real English. They hesitated, used and corrected themselves. That's what makes it human. That's what makes communication work. Thank you for joining me, Jara, on this journey with Super English Talks. By following one ordinary day, I hope you feel more prepared and confident to handle your own conversations. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep connecting. Have a wonderful day.